Righto guys, before we get going, I do need to remind you though, I am not an expert at anything, but I am willing to have a go. And whilst you're watching this or at the end, go buy yourself a hat. Shameless plug. Buy 3 because you can wear them 3 at a time. They'll protect your ears as well. Maybe a stubby holder. And we do have heaps of products on there for forward driving, touring and camping. Awnings, solar panels, lots of solutions and heaps of information and free downloads. Anyway, let's get into some common sense. We're not going to even go near the facts today. Righto, I really want to talk about electrification of all things with 4 wheels. It just seems to be that every politician at the moment wants to jam electric vehicles down our throats, whether we like it or not. It was brought to my attention by an ad, and like I said, I'm not going to focus on the facts. I can't remember the brand of the ute. GWM, Great Wall, one of the cheaper utes, is going to be the first to market a full plug-in EV, and that scares me to hell because that is the beginning of the way we travel coming to an end. Is the next 79 series going to have an electric motor in it? Like, that just sounds ridiculous. This is the reality we're facing, and is it really going to solve the problem? The problem being that everyone wants to be green. Is it that everyone wants to look green, or is it everyone wants to actually save the planet? I really don't know, because without delving into the facts, common sense suggests that EVs are not the answer. Right, so why are we not using facts? We are not using facts because if COVID taught us anything, most facts, or for me and you and most people sitting at home, most of those facts will come from this, a device that has the internet on it. And Google is probably one of the most common ways to access. So COVID taught us that whatever point you wanted to prove, you could prove it with the internet, whether it be right, wrong, or indifferent. And I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I believe it's the same with everything, including EVs. I could type in there, how much greener are EVs? And I would get so many pages of reports about how EVs are greener than fossil fuels and whatnot. Or I could type in there, why are EVs not a green alternative to fossil fuels? And I'd probably get heaps of reports in there supporting that comment as well. So let's focus on common sense, and I really mean that in a way that we all know that perpetual motion doesn't exist. It's never existed. If it did exist, we wouldn't be talking about this at all. And what I mean is that to make a vehicle go forward, you need to put something into it. Whether it be fossil fuels, electricity, it doesn't matter. And it's how you get those fuels and how you build those vehicles to start with is where the real problem lies. It really doesn't matter whether it's a fossil fuel or it's electricity. At one point or another, it still comes out of the ground. So we all know that every mine is pretty well powered by diesel machinery. Even some of the really big excavators and machines that are electric are powered by a diesel generator, so it's a diesel electric. So your EV that you're driving around saving the world in started life being mined by a diesel machine. And we are digging up the ground at a crazy rate trying to find lithium, nickel, everything that goes into making a lithium battery. And most people on the street will be aware of that. So why are we being forced into electric vehicles? Now, without going into the nitty gritty, maybe an electric vehicle is a little bit greener than a fossil fuel vehicle, maybe. So when it's time to upgrade your vehicle and your vehicle is completely wrecked and shagged, and it's your daily run around, and you want to help the planet, fine, go and buy an EV. There's no problem with that. What I'm talking about here is the possibility of fossil fueled vehicles becoming obsolete when the vehicles are still fine to use. That is just wasteful, and that is not solving the problem. Now, I referenced COVID just before. I'm going to do that again because I think we learned a lot of things out of COVID initially, and they've all been forgotten. So when COVID hit, my wife stayed at home and worked from home because generally she sits in front of a computer for work, right? That lasted after COVID for quite a while. People saw the benefits in it. And then slowly, that has gotten back to normal. Now, when that was happening, there's countries around the world that actually visually noticed a difference in the pollution in the air. Like, that's how much of a difference staying at home made to what we were consuming. So why in the hell did we just go back to pre-COVID times where everyone just gets in their car for no freaking good reason? Let's save the fossil fuels. Let's save our consumption for the times where we want to enjoy them. I do not want to have that ability taken away from me where I can jump in my Land Cruiser, hook up to my caravan and piss off and go around Australia because everyone's just been wasting that fossil fuel doing mundane tasks. So yes, I know that, things can't go on forever, but really the easiest way to minimize our impact is not to throw all our fossil fueled vehicles to the dump and jump into an EV that is mined out of the ground with diesel machinery. That is not the answer. I really truly believe the answer is we need to just stop using it. That is the simplest, most common sense thing that we could do, and I think everyone deep down knows that. So why aren't the politicians focusing more on getting people to use our fossil fuels and consume smarter, rather than pushing us into maybe slightly greener, but at the same time a more wasteful solution to a problem that we could solve by actually spending less money? To me, it just seems a bit common sense. Like, why drive to work when you can do it from home? So look, we are the problem. We are consuming. There's basically just too many of us. So it doesn't matter what we drive, we're still consuming at a rate that is just unsustainable. Whether electric cars are a little bit greener than fossil fueled, I don't know. They're facts that you can prove your point however you want to prove your point with the internet. But common sense suggests that we just need to use less. So it begs the question, will I see an electric 79 series in my time? Will it be any good? Will the range be what we need it to be with 3.5 tonne behind it? I think that the technology is that far away from that, it's not funny. All right, all those points aside, let's talk about cost, because cost is a real driver to what people actually buy. So these electric vehicles are going to come down in cost. As technology gets better, as they become more common, the cost of these vehicles will go down. Everyone in Australia, and I can't comment on the rest of the world because, I'm not going to delve into the facts here, but you guys will know if you're watching from around the world. In Australia, the price of electricity in your household has skyrocketed. And it's purely a supply and demand thing. Like, everything is driven supply and demand. So when everyone's driving an electric vehicle, what the hell do you think the price of electricity is going to be like? And in Australia in particular, I can comment on, our grid at the moment is not going to support that. There is just so many hurdles here that have not been thought about, and there just seems to be such a simple solution to this problem. It's crazy. Like we have a solar system on our house, and during peak season in summer, which is when it should work at its best, the solar system frequently drops out. And I've spoken to quite a few people in our town. Theirs does the same thing. And boiling it down and speaking to electricians, it is basically because the grid cannot handle electricity going back into it. It was never designed that way. So we have such an electricity problem, especially in Australia, and I would imagine this is around the world in some degrees. I'm sure some countries are all over it, but it just comes back to that supply and demand problem. Fossil fuels are so good at that. So we've been putting service stations in on every corner for like the last 100 years. And now to go back through and retrofit them with electric charging stations, it's just a whole nother massive waste of resources that could possibly be solved by everyone staying at home for 1 day a week. I truly believe that, and I haven't done the math on it. So if there's someone out there smart enough, and smarter than me, which isn't hard, please do the math on that. I bet that would be an absolutely astronomical number of how much that would save fossil fuels and resources is if everyone stayed home once a week. And politicians could make this happen. Like, another point I want to make here is the way the building industry is at the moment also. I live close to a town that has massive resources as far as trades and the ability to supply every building aspect. Not a drama. But we still see componentry, like massive parts of homes, coming from 5 hours away because it was a little bit cheaper. Like, the government can step in there and regulate. You know, you should have to use trades and components in your own town. So it all comes back to that. Let's not waste the resources we have. Let's save them for the things we love doing, and that is touring and traveling Australia. Because if it gets to a point where I can't jump in my Land Cruiser and drive around Australia and see all those really remote places, I don't know. Like that's a world I don't want to see, and that's the way we're headed, because we just won't stop using it for the mundane tasks. Anyway, guys, that is the rant over. I really hope it gets everyone thinking, and look, comment below if any of these non-facts that I've spoken about are wrong. I've tried to stay away from the facts because I really don't know that many. Let's just think about all these problems logically, and I think most people already know these things, but no one will really seem to say it or do anything about it, especially our politicians. So, look, I know that's not why you usually tune into this channel, but I'm hoping every time you click on one of our thumbnails, it's really going to be a surprise, and I really want to get that off my chest, and I've got a lot of other topics I want to talk to you guys about. So don't forget, you do only live once, so let's get out there and enjoy it, especially while we still can, and there's fossil fuels available and we're not all forced into EVs. See you next time.